Chapter 17, Process Costing. We're going to go through process costing a little bit differently than the other chapters because we have to, you really have to do a lot of problems in here and what to get the process down of process costing. And you can talk about it all you want, but somehow it wouldn't be meaningful, you know? So I've got an introductory video here, and then I'm going to go through the 3 cases using a format that you can apply to just about all process costing problems, okay? And that's really the best way to do it, and it helps you, you know, after you do a bunch of them, you start realizing what you're doing, that what you're really doing is allocating cost to what went to finished goods and what's an ending work in process, you know? So first of all, this first presentation will talk about situations in which process costing systems are appropriate, and then we'll understand what the basic concepts are of process costing and computing average unit costs, then the 5-step process, and we'll use weighted average and do a lot of calculations. The last presentation that we have then will look at applying process costing methods to transferred in costs. Okay, so you've got another department that transfers costs into your department. Okay, and then finally talk a little bit about the need for hybrid costing systems. So when you think about job costing and process costing, what you're really looking at are 2 ends of a continuum. Okay? So job costing systems, this is a comparison of the 2, job costing and process costing. Job costing systems are used for distinct identifiable units of a product or a service, while process costing is used for masses of individual or similar units of a product or a service. And good example of a job costing system would be custom-made machines, a house, you know, that for sure would be a job cost. Process costing, food, chemical processing, making paper towels, if you watch that video, those are all process costing systems. And you might have noticed in the video for the paper towels that there was only 1 employee in the whole thing. You know, you never see any people. Now, process costing is a system where the unit cost of a product or service is obtained by assigning total costs to many identical or similar units of output. All right, they're all the same. Unit costs are calculated by dividing the total cost incurred. Okay, so we'll have beginning work in process plus costs added during the period, and we'll divide that by the number of units of output by the production process. And each unit then receives the same or similar amounts of direct materials and then labor and overhead. And we frequently combine labor and overhead and just call it conversion. Finally, going to use that conversion cost term. Now, in a job costing system, individual jobs use different quantities of resources, so it would be incorrect to cost each job at the same average production cost. Okay, but just think process costing has identical or similar units of products or services. They're mass produced. Okay, so we use process costing to calculate an average production cost for all the units produced. Okay, and the main difference between process costing and job costing is the extent of averaging. All right, that's really what it is. Process costing is like the big average. So process costing systems separate costs into categories according to when the costs are introduced into the process. So you've got to be careful with this though. Direct materials, they're usually added at the beginning of the production process. Okay, so watch for that. Or at the start of work in a subsequent department down the assembly line. But they're usually in the beginning. So we can say that direct materials are 100% complete because they've all been dumped in. Okay? Whereas conversion, we assume that it happens equally along the whole production process. Now these are the 3 cases we'll look at, and what I'm going to do is just work them out for you. The first one has no beginning or ending work in process inventory. The second one has no BWIP, but it's got some ending work in process. And then the last one is both beginning and ending work in process inventories, and we'll use the same process for each one. Okay.